Before the bright lights, the sold-out concerts, and the boat cruises that define Toronto's Afrobeat scene today, there was a much quieter beginning, one built in small rooms, underground parties, and immigrant gatherings that carried the heartbeat of Africa thousands of miles from home. The story of Afrobeats in Toronto is one of migration, community, and music becoming the glue that held it all together. It all started with the first major wave of African immigration to Canada in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Families from Nigeria, Ghana, and other West African nations began settling in Toronto, many drawn by education, safety, and opportunity. But in those early days, there was something missing. They had left behind the food, the street energy, and most importantly, the sound that made them feel alive. So naturally, they brought the music with them. At that time, African music wasn't mainstream in Toronto. You might hear a few songs played at African weddings or university parties, but it wasn't something that filled clubs downtown. The city's nightlife was dominated by hip-hop, R&B, and dancehall. But every now and then, a DJ would slide in a song by Baba or early P-Square. And when they did, the African crowd came alive. That spark, that moment of recognition, planted a seed. University campuses became the first real hubs for Afrobeats in Toronto. Nigerian and Ghanaian student associations would host parties at small rented halls or basements. The speakers would be shaking, the lights dim, and the songs, often burned onto CDs or played straight from laptops, would transport people back home. For many African students, those nights were their therapy. The music gave them something familiar in a place that often felt cold and foreign. By the late 2000s, a few DJs and promoters began taking chances on African music beyond campus parties. Small lounges in areas like Scarborough, North York, and downtown Toronto started experimenting with Afro nights. These were gatherings where young Africans, Caribbean folks, and curious locals could dance to rhythms that weren't being played anywhere else in the city. Names like Banj, Wanda Cole, and early Wizkid started echoing through these spaces. You could feel something was shifting. Then came the explosion. Around 2015, Afrobeats as a genre began its global takeover. Wizkid collaborated with Drake, Burna Boy started filling arenas, and Davido's hits became club anthems. Toronto, being one of the most multicultural cities in the world, was ready. The African diaspora was already here, the infrastructure was forming, and the city's taste for rhythm-driven, feel-good music made Afrobeats a natural fit. Promoters began hosting bigger shows, DJs started getting booked across downtown clubs, and for the first time, Afrobeats wasn't an afterthought, it was the main event. But what really pushed Toronto's Afrobeats culture forward was its sense of pride. The African community wasn't just consuming the music, they were shaping it. Local artists started creating their own blends of Afrobeats and R&B fashion brands. Hairstylists and even food vendors began building entire experiences around the sound. Suddenly, Toronto wasn't just watching Afrobeats grow, it was becoming a key player in its evolution. Events like Afrofest, which had been running since the early 1990s as a Pan-African celebration, began drawing larger and younger crowds. Clubs like Orchid, Rebel, and Nest began dedicating nights specifically to Afrobeat and Amapiano sounds. DJs who once played in basements were now flying internationally, representing Toronto's unique Afro-diasporic energy abroad. The local scene evolved even further when social media came into play. Instagram pages and promoters began documenting the nightlife, the outfits, the dancing, the energy. Suddenly, the rest of the world could see what was happening in Toronto's Afrobeat scene. That visibility brought more collaborations, more tours, and more recognition from African artists who started making Toronto a key stop on their North American tours. But through all that growth, what's most powerful about the origins of Afrobeats in Toronto is how grassroots it was. It wasn't built by corporations or major labels. It was built by immigrants, young Africans who missed home and turned that nostalgia into a movement. It was built by DJs who took risks, promoters who lost money on early events, and fans who showed up week after week just to feel that connection. Today, when you step into an Afrobeats event in Toronto, the packed rooms, the energy, the smiles, you're seeing the result of decades of persistence. The sound that once lived in small halls has become part of the city's cultural DNA. The same music that once helped Africans in Toronto feel less homesick now unites people of all backgrounds. That's the beauty of it. Toronto didn't just import Afrobeats, it helped globalize it. It became a bridge between Lagos and the Western world. The artists who come here don't just see fans, they see family. And the fans don't just hear songs, they hear pieces of their story. That's why the origins of Afrobeats in Toronto matter. Because this isn't just a music scene, it's living proof that when culture travels, it doesn't lose power. It transforms, it adapts, and it creates new homes. Toronto became one of those homes, loud, diverse, proud, and forever in rhythm with the motherland. If you've ever danced at an Afrobeats night in Toronto, you've felt that energy, the connection, the joy, the reminder that no matter how far we go, we always find ways to bring home with us. And that's what keeps the beat alive. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more deep dives into Toronto's Afrobeats culture, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.